Okay, welcome everyone. My name is Victoria Kavanagh, and I'm a PhD student and a CSBBCS student representative for Memorial University of Newfoundland. Today, I will be interviewing Dr. Aimée Surprenant for the Meet the Researcher web series. Dr. Surprenant is a full professor at Memorial University and is currently the Dean of the School of Graduate Studies and Associate Vice President of Academic. Thank you, Dr. Surprenant, for volunteering your time for this web series. So to begin, please tell us where you studied for your undergraduate and graduate degrees, as well as how you came about studying your current field of research, and a bit about that research.
Thank you, Victoria, for asking me to do this interview. I'm really looking forward to it. So I did my undergraduate degree at New York University in New York City. And I majored in psychology because I knew that it was a really generic sort of degree, that there were lots of avenues that were open to me with a degree in undergraduate degree in psychology. I could go to law school, I could go to med school, I could go to business school. So I had the idea that I wanted to go to graduate school, but not what in. However, I took a course, actually a stats course from a very wonderful person and really enjoyed it. And so I asked her if she would supervise my honors project, which happened to be in human memory. And she said yes, and I did the work in her lab and really enjoyed it. So when I was thinking of graduate school, I asked her for some hints about where to go and who to work with, because of course in graduate school the university itself isn't the main thing. The main thing is finding a research supervisor who is going to help you meet your goals. And she recommended a guy named Dr. Robert Crowder at Yale University, and with her help I applied and was accepted to work with him for my PhD. In the US, you generally go through and get a master's degree on your way to a PhD. So Bob's research was very much focused on auditory memory, and that's what I did my dissertation on.
Okay, fantastic, thank you. So next, as a Dean of Graduate Studies, what advice would you give to graduate students?
So backing up, I think that thinking about graduate school relatively early in your academic career, as early as you can, is very helpful. You can gain the skills, particularly the lab skills, that you're going to need in graduate school, but you'll also need to meet some faculty and get to know them actually pretty well, so that they can write you those sorts of letters that my undergrad honors supervisor wrote for me to get me into the lab that I wanted to get into. So those sorts of connections that you build as an undergrad are critically important for your getting into the program that you want to get into. Now, if you don't have those connections, you can still actually form them through networking, going to conferences, actually talking to people in the field, and like you, Victoria, volunteering to be a part of national organizations is another way to get people to know you. But mainly the most important thing about doing and succeeding in a graduate program is doing something that you enjoy and that you're interested in. There's no reason to go to graduate school. There's no reason to do a PhD in an area that you aren't sort of passionately excited about. Now, you aren't going to be passionately excited about every aspect of your program, but the research itself really needs to be something that's going to keep your interest and is going to motivate you to continue to work towards that degree. It's a long, hard haul, and there are difficult times, but as long as it's something that you're enjoying, you'll continue to do it and you'll be successful. Our most successful students are not necessarily those who come in with the highest GPAs or the best scores on all of the tests. They instead are those who are motivated and excited about the work that they're doing.
Yeah, thank you for that. And as a current graduate student, I agree with everything you said, and even the stuff I'm currently doing, I will wholeheartedly continue doing it. So thank you for that. So next, what would you consider to be the key challenges within your field of study, and what would you like to improve if you could?
So some of the challenges are that we've lately, I think, gotten a little away from collegiality. That is, people can argue about theories and data, and that's perfectly fine, but they shouldn't make the arguments personal. And I think that some of the work that's being done in some of the areas where people are accusing others of doing sloppy work because their research doesn't replicate is, I think, doing harm to our field. Really many times things don't replicate for very important and useful reasons. So for example, years ago, I was doing some work at Purdue University on the irrelevant speech effect. We were getting a certain pattern of results. Well, there's a researcher in Wales who was doing very similar work and was getting a very different pattern of results. That didn't necessarily mean I was doing sloppy work or he was doing sloppy work. It turned out that the average student at Purdue University is very different from the average student at the University of Cardiff in Wales, which is an incredibly competitive program for undergraduate psychology. So we were looking at very different populations of students. If we had gone at our discussion in a accusatory manner, we never would have been able to come to that realization that it was mostly due to different subject populations. So I do think that some of the discussions around replicability have gotten heated in a way that I don't think is necessary. I think that we can talk to one another in respectful ways and work out why some things aren't replicable or are replicable.
Okay, thank you for that. And finally, so can you suggest some further reading for the interested viewers?
So I think actually, rather than reading, I would suggest that you get onto Twitter and take a look at some of the threads on academic work. There's all kinds of, there's a Twitter feed called SOS, which is Stuff Academics Say. And there's a bunch of really great resources, and actually you can make some great connections on Twitter as well. So you can ignore the political stuff if you wish, but Twitter has been an amazing resource for students getting support for from other students, but also from faculty, et cetera. It's, I think, an amazing resource for students these days.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you again, Dr. Surprenant, for being a part of this web series and for sharing with all of us. And I hope that everyone watching has a fantastic time listening to some of the other researchers for this web series. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you.